getting into sort of this idea of immersive experiences. And it was more just by having my own kids and feeling frustrated in cities that there was kind of nowhere where you could take children that's sort of magical and exciting, and created back then a platform which took 7 years to build, and we opened in Times Square. But at the time we were calling it a multiverse. So we were combining 360-degree environments, gaming, animation, lore, mythology. And we took thousands and thousands of families and children through this experience. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to shut down. So when Rashid called me and we started talking about NFTs and looking at that whole sort of landscape, we thought, why don't we take this world building IP content and start to create an actual city? So that's really when this idea of creating a city that comes to life and where every property has its own story was born.
Very, very intriguing. Let me just make sure. And by the way, guys, I just want to say, I think the live started a little late. So I apologize if you guys missed the beginning of our live broadcast. But hey, we're here and you're still on time. We're only, a minute and 35 minutes in. So we're doing good. But Rania, what I want to bring up when you were talking, when we talk about Web3 and the metaverse, just these two terms alone, they've become, such deterrents for the mainstream users. But what makes you guys' approach really unique in what you were describing, you guys have built Metropolis on the blockchain, right? But you're really, what I learned is you're not making it about blockchain or Web3 or NFTs or all these tech jargons that frankly nobody cares or wants to talk about or hear. Will you also talk to us about your Web3 approach? Will you walk us through that and this effort that you guys have really taken to make the entry smooth for everyday user into the world that you just described?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I can start by sort of going to the beginning, which is creating the city and how our approach is different.
Yeah, please too. I'm going to share with the audience here.
So I don't know if you
How amazing is that? That is so cool. Did somebody dream about that? Because I've seen that in my dreams.
It was
That
a
is
dream.
so cool.
It was a lot of sweat after the dream.
It was all a dream, wasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like one now. But really the idea is that we're looking at what is it that transcends blockchain technology, and it really comes down to storytelling and communities and bringing together. So we're bridging gaming, art, stories, community, and really you can see the city. Every single property has its own story. It has characters associated with that story.
Wow.
So you're really entering a world that you can get lost in. And these properties are now owned by individuals. We have an amazing community of people that have taken on the lore that we created and are now contributing to it. So you have, for example, the owner of Coma Coaster that will post sort of different ads and updates about the Coma Coaster and what's happening. So for us, it really feels like a live city. And as you can see, it's a 2.5D approach. So it's easy to enter. You're not going through any clunky system. Even the gamer profile is very, it's simple. You earn soft clay. You can pick up your creatures. We have like a Pokemon AI game, and we even have a publishing house within the city. So we put out regular issues of like the going ons within the world. So this 2.5D approach that's accessible and that hits at storytelling and good content is really at the heart of what we're doing.
Rania, will you take us back? Because I want to ask Rashid a couple of questions there too when it comes to design and the blockchain. Rashid, now, this is on the blockchain, correct? Which chain is this on?
So we started with the properties being on Ethereum, and that was really a choice because at the time It was the most popular chain. It had the most adoption. So we felt it was, it had the least friction. But we're moving, when it comes to the avatars, onto Polygon, because when it comes to this concept that you mentioned around not needing to worry about the NFT side, the blockchain side, with Polygon, the transaction fees are much lower. So we're able to really kind of take that on ourselves. So if you're a regular Web2 user, we're setting your wallet up. You're just using an email to sign in, like a regular profile. You're checking out with a credit card. You don't even need to know what an NFT is or what gas fees are. We've used real world terms instead of that, collectibles, fashion lines, create your avatar, check out. It's taking this, the familiar terminology and utilizing that. So a lot has gone into that language, because we feel it's very important for the mass adoption.
Absolutely. And I want the mainstream audience to know that there is a wallet, but you don't have to have a wallet to access Metropolis. There is an email sign in. Will you kind of walk us through the accessibility as well for people who may not care about crypto or wallets?
Totally. So the way we do it is we're very focused on classic email sign up, where you sign in, create a password, put your email in. You have a profile. That's where it houses all your stuff, your different collectibles. And the beauty of this is, if you do get intrigued, if you do want to kind of understand what's happening and take over your wallet and maybe convert into a Web3 user, you can, but it's absolutely not necessary. You could just be coming in, logging into the platform, checking out the latest fashion lines in Persona Parlor, doing everything without needing to understand that. So we tried to do it in a way so it hits the best of both worlds. It tailors both audiences.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Persona Parlor. We're going to talk about avatars, but what is really notable here is that, hey, if you're a crypto degen, there is a wallet for you. There's all that terminology that you love to talk about. But if you are not a degen and you're a mainstream audience and you just want to get in and get your feet wet, it is an email sign in. It's easy, it's simple, and we're going to get more into what you're walking into. Let's talk about Rania. You have the avatars up right now. Can we talk about the avatars in the Metropolis? Because when I learned, there was something very intriguing. There's an intriguing concept you guys introduced earlier, Persona Parlor, where, correct me if I'm wrong, but users get to unlock digital and physical products through their avatars. Am I correct? Will you explain that to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Rashid, why don't you go through that and I can steer a little bit just to show.
Yeah, totally. So I'll say it on, like, we're using some Web3 terminology, because I know you'll get it, and then it kind
That's
of
fine. That's fine.
which is basically like the traits for your avatar. So like that could be the hair, the clothing, the accessories. They're all their own NFTs. They're dynamic NFTs. So at any point you can update that avatar on chain. You can change it. You can adapt the clothing. It's fully customizable. And every trait for your avatar can unlock some real world utility. So as an example, if I buy Young Gravy's t-shirt, I can have the real world one delivered to my home. If I buy Steve Aoki,
Wow.
I can get concert tickets to a show. If I buy a Greenpeace hat, I'm donating to Greenpeace and representing that on, through my avatar. So we wanted to tie it into like real world utility, things that people genuinely care about. And we know is very important. And then we bring in all these other elements like interoperability. So Rania is showing you here the idea that you have a t-shirt in Metropolis World, you have the 3D version, can be used for social media filters in different environments and worlds. And then you have the physical version that can be delivered to you. And that's kind of the core concept.
Yeah, hold on that this image right here, Rania, because I want people to understand, especially our mainstream audience, to understand what this really means, because this also opens the door to real world brands partnerships. The idea, which we're going to talk about PHYGITALS as well, the idea that you can have what you're passionate about in this world, you have a digital version of it, but you also can have a real version of that digital item. Will you Rashid, give the audience a scenario. For example, what we're looking at right here.
Yeah, completely. So a great example, the two brands we like a lot is StockX and Supreme, because of their their model and how it ties into the PHYGITAL concept for us. So let's say I purchase this virtual t-shirt in Metropolis World. What that will do, it will give me a 3D version that I can take into like Decentraland or Sandbox or even Roblox, different environments, social media filters for TikTok, Instagram. So I now have an asset that can be used in many digital environments, but that's also my access to then get the real world version. So the idea
So it's
there,
interoperable. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's interoperable. Yes.
fully interoperable. And then
Wow.
the idea becomes that if we drop, let's say, a limited edition t-shirt, let's say 500 of them, a Steve Aoki Metropolis t-shirt, the only way to get that real world one is by buying the virtual one. You now own it. You can redeem it, trade it. You have control of that. But it's a fun way to do things. But at the end of the day, you're still getting this exclusive real world product that can only be found through the Persona Parlor.
And also I don't know, Rashid, if you can see, but for example, we've partnered with a young designer who created only 200 of these bespoke limited edition eyewear, these glasses. So you can go onto the Persona Parlor, get the virtual version, which then gives you access to unlocking the actual physical version. So it's really looking at what we're creating as a brand. So Rashid mentioned Supreme, Amé Leon, October's Very Own, these brands that are just cool, authentic, but we're bringing that to to the blockchain, to Web3, and we're bringing digital collectibles with real world collectibles.
I see our friend Kurosh actually is in the house, guys, and he says the style is out of this world. It really is, because I feel like I am in StockX. Can I say
That's
that?
amazing that you say that. We
Great
actually,
compliment.
yeah,
I'm very happy with that.
we say we're the StockX of the metaverse. Like that's actually in our deck when we talk about our digital items. Is we're like, think of StockX but in the metaverse.
Well, that's because, I mean, even Kurosh knows I am a sneakerhead and I am like addicted to StockX, and this reminds me of StockX, but it's not just that. There's lore. And Rashid, what really stood out to me is the UI still feels like a game, but but you're doing so much more than just fashion. There's games, there's lore, there's art, and what I'm seeing here is also you're bringing together a really vibrant community of creators, and that's really important, right? Talk to us about that.
That's huge for us. I think this idea of a curated marketplace and a creator's economy. And I'll give you a really good example of that. I mean, as a musician, it's very hard to make money in it. I've had releases on big labels, and my royalties are minimal, and you spend hours making DJ mixes, and it's very hard to monetize any of that. But here, let's say we work with an up-and-coming singer. They could release a record. We create a fashion line for that unlocks that record. They could, have a limited number of those. It's almost like going back to vinyls, but on the blockchain. And they're starting to monetize. So we want to we're really a platform to empower creators. And a big exciting fact is we have 2 years worth of creators and brands lined up to drop on this platform. So there's a long roadmap of content and exciting products that we've kind of done the work to put in place prior to launching.
And how does that structure work? If I'm a creator and I'm listening to this and I want to be a part of this, how does that work for me? Where do I begin?
So right now we've been sort of doing the curation and finding different designers that we love, artists, creators, and we've been handpicking and sort of bringing them into the fold. But the idea later is that as a creator, you can go onto the site, you can fill in an application, and work with either our creative team where we create the virtual fashion wear, or we have some artists that actually make them themselves, and they have the basis for our different sort of nomads and citizens. But the idea is that down the line, it's almost like a Squarespace thing where you go in, you have your own page, you can decide what your virtual item unlocks. So you do it yourself. So it's a very scalable model. So that's kind of what we're building to. However, right now it's more us.
Right. And Rashid, do you see that artists want this direct relationship with their fans and with their craft?
Yeah, we're finding that artists see this as a way to kind of firstly have virtual items, which is great for their reach, for their marketing. It's just that new approach that many brands and creators want to get involved with. But we try to make it kind of low effort for them. We don't, if I'm a creator now and I have to create my own entire NFT collection, figure out the artist and how to launch a contract and how to do all of that, it becomes, maybe not worth it for a creator. But with us, they're coming into an ecosystem that has great partners, a good community. So we found that bit has been pretty exciting because we're, I think now 100+ partners pre-launch.
That's
So
awesome.
it's a big amount.
And that's pre-launch. That's awesome. Daniel is asking, do you allow creators use AI or virtual handmade?
We do, and what we want to do actually once we get past this initial launch is to have a bolt-on tool where people can use AI and integrate that into Persona. So absolutely. And that's something we also want to do with our property hubs, so that if you own a property, you can use AI to skin the interior and make furniture, etc.
And
So
Sentenza's
yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. I was going to say Sentenza's comment here is a really, for us, is actually, it's a big thing as well, which is, the community members who support us and are part of our world, for them to have their own traits and launch those, that to us is an incredible, it's true community, that the community are integrated within the designs of the avatars and have their own traits. We feel that's really taking us like a level up to community involvement in the sense of like the PFP side.
Yeah, we actually have here. Sorry, I was just going to show you.
No, you go ahead.
These are all community traits that we work. They submitted the different traits that they wanted, and they're all sort of here. I'm just showing you a few of them.
And while you have this up, let me also ask, because what is also unique here, and when it comes to the avatars, I call them digital buddy, because it's your digital buddy, your avatar. There's something unique here too. One of you guys can shed some light on this. They're not tradable, correct? It's a concept you guys call soulbound. Will you tell us a little bit about this concept?
Yeah, so we really try to find a way to create a mechanic that allows us to scale and grow a large user base while still allowing for the fun of the trading and the rarities and all those things that people love in these different collections. So the base of the avatar, like the naked avatar, is soulbound to the user, meaning you can't trade that. And we do that because it stops speculation on the PFP as a whole, and it allows us to grow a large user base. But then anything you put on that, which we call inventory, is tradable. And that can, I could buy like a limited edition t-shirt for my avatar and buy and sell that, trade that, totally cool. But the naked body is basically yours. It's your true identity. And that allows us to then scale the number of avatars and then have all the inventory trading as we go along.
So every item here you can see is actually packaged.
There we go.
Sorry, every item is packaged so you can actually sell it on secondary and trade it, and so this is also another way of people to trade and sell the items they get.
And there's no token, correct? Am I correct? Is there a tokenomics involved as well?
We're doing quite an interesting token actually that we're just about to launch, where it's backed by a percentage of the revenue of Persona Parlor. So we'll take a percentage of our revenue, put that into a pool to the side, and you can earn this token by inviting and referring people, by staking your assets like passports and properties, and we'll keep adding ways to earn this token. But we really wanted it to be against an actual liquidity pool of capital. So it's like as we grow and we build and we succeed, our community succeed with us, versus like one of those hype tokens that just it pumps and it doesn't really go anywhere. This is actually backed by real revenues.
Very interesting. And that's coming up, correct?
that's coming, very soon, actually. We're launching the referral program this week, and then we'll be having that pool of capital from day one of Persona Parlor launch.
And I'm sure we can have another conversation, a whole nother show just around tokenomics, but let's keep it on what our mainstream audience relate to the most. And if you will, Rashid, I want to take us back real quick to the idea of PHYGITALs, because there's such a big opportunity here, especially for brands. Will you talk about some of the relationships and some of the doors that this idea of collectibles and PHYGITALs open for brand partnerships? I know you have a few of them that are in there and doing amazing work. Talk to us about that.
Totally. I mean, one interesting thing we've realized is for fashion brands and also fashion designers, as an example, it's a way to test out products virtual first. So, really experiment with ideas that they have for different clothing lines. And off the back of that, then launch the physical versions. So it's almost a really interesting way to get feedback on your product lines, and then see, okay, people are loving this. The physical version now needs to come from that. So that's one use case that we've seen very interesting to brands. The second is brands that don't typically have fashion lines. Let's take, for example, a Time Out or a Toblerone. These are brands that don't have physical clothing. But if you start to create these cool collectibles around like the 500 Toblerone hoodies, the only way they get them is through here, and it's this really interesting kind of piece of history almost as a physical item that opens the door for almost any brand to become a fashion designer per se through us. So those are just two. Rania, I'm sure we'll have more use cases as well.
And guys, this is a whole new way of doing marketing, correct? I mean, is this the new Gen Z marketing? That's what I want to know.
I mean, we definitely think so.
I hope so.
It looks that way. I mean, you see Nike going into these digital environments. You see Adidas going into these digital environments, having activations, wanting people to engage with their brand. So to me, it's my opinion, but it's evident that this is the direction this next iteration of marketing is taken, right?
I mean, we notice, I know Rania with her kids who are into collecting sneakers and play on Roblox and in Fortnite and so on. The digital identity for the younger generation, even for our generation, is as important as the physical. So to us, it's like, why not have that identity seamless across all of that? Whatever t-shirt I'm wearing in the real world, have it in my Roblox profile, have it in the games I play, have it as my social media filter, have it as my PFP. So it's really seamless across all different environments. I mean, as a company, as we grow, we'll test. We're very curious to see where the biggest pickup is. Like, is it a sandbox or I think it will be Roblox personally, because you have a lot of people already heavily invested in that world. But absolutely, I think the digital and physical now are very combined and there should be something seamless for
they're connected. They're part of life. And we always say, we're not creating a metaverse to replace your physical world. We're creating something that brings it in, ties it, and both have this interplay. And I think that's been the challenge with a lot of current metaverses, is they're clunky, they're hard to get into, they're so disassociated from your everyday life. And for us, even the way we're building the city, a lot of people were saying, well, why don't you do it in 3D? And it's like, no, we want something that's easy, like an extension to your social media, that you can enter your property hub seamlessly and see your wardrobe. So this is really our mission, our sort of ethos.
Making the metaverse tangible almost.
Yeah,
absolutely. And how, Rashid, how seamless is it right now, interoperability? How easy is it to go from one metaverse into another metaverse, whether you're taking your avatar, whether you're taking that just the shirt? How seamless is that? And don't metaverses have to speak to each other for that to happen?
Yeah, so the way we see it is almost like your profile houses your items, and you have that core item, which is the 2D Metropolis item, let's say the t-shirt. And what we're trying to do is plug in as many integrations as possible and continue to plug in as many as possible. Some of that is done off-chain. So something like a Roblox, it's not on-chain. So the idea is that by owning the 2D Metropolis one, you can then kind of access that off-chain Roblox version. For for environments that are on chain, there is some talking to, and there's that idea of connectivity, and everyone talks about interoperability so much. So we've tried to just kind of make it really simple. It's like, okay, physical t-shirt, social media filters, 3D VRM file that works in these virtual environments, and just adding more and more as we go along, and learning from the feedback too, seeing which ones do people really use, I think is very important for us as Persona Parlor comes to life.
What is your vision for this, the product and the creator's relationship with your platform? What do you want to see happen in that ecosystem, say 5 years from now?
I think we really want to be this cultural destination, like a place that if you want something cool, edgy, not something you're just going to get on Amazon, you go to Persona Parlor, whether it's video content, fashion, etc. So I think we call it a cultural oasis, so to speak. So I think that's what we're really aiming for. 5 years from now, we're the go-to place for amazing, high quality, curated stuff across the board.
And from like a sentimental level, I think there's like this dream that it almost feels like if I touch down in an amazing city like Barcelona, and you know that feeling, and you're walking, there's amazing restaurants, and it's vibrant and exciting, and all this cool stuff's happening, and there's people and entertainment, and there's a feeling to the city and to the people. It's like, how do you do that virtually? Because right now, if you look at the current metaverses out there, you don't feel that when you go in. It feels a little bit empty and soulless. So
very empty. And we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about the empty metaverses, but sorry, go ahead.
But that's, so totally, that's like, I think something we'd love to achieve is, and the technology really is just the means to achieve that. That's not what people should care about. And I think people should just care about the experience they're having with us and the product.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of the experience, Rania, I am so addicted to this image of the city. Will you bring that up for us again, for those audiences that are joining us? I want them to see the city one more time. And if we can zoom in a little bit and you tell us, can you go in a little bit? I know, sorry guys, if it's going to get blurry, but just bear with us here. And you can go on the Metropolis website and see this up close and personal. Will you tell us what's going on here? What are some of the experiences that are happening here? Are these properties all purchased? How do you purchase these? Who lives in that house right there? What is going on? This is stunning.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, for now, it's really the exterior of the city. So you come on, you can buy these, on OpenSea. Every property you come in, you can read about the different sort of backstories. Some of them have characters. Some characters are linked to other characters. So there's like relationships between maybe someone that's living in one district to another. Something that we've done in the past is we've had games happen within the city. So actually, we're launching one on Twitter this week where we've hidden two characters, our two hosts. So there's like a Where's Wally?
Stop it! Where's Waldo is a game. That's awesome.
So the Where's I remember it as Wally, and then they changed it to Waldo. But yeah, Where's Waldo?
Same difference is Wally and Waldo. We'll find both. So we have to find Wally and Waldo. All right.
Exactly. So that's happening. We've had other sort of treasure hunts within the city. But the idea is that, as we continue to build, you will actually be able to go inside these property hubs. And depending on the ownership, some will have events, some will have music, streaming, and then people that own their own properties will be able to sort of have their friends over, have chats, and there'll be a leaderboard that sort of shows what's going on in the city, what's the most visited property. But the beauty is that it's all here, that the destination is here. And again, going back to this idea of a city, we create, when you walk around Rome or Paris, the exterior is sort of curated, it's architecture. But inside, people can go in and put their own stamp. And that's where we want to put the AI integration and the skinning so that it's within the interior of the properties that people can really make them their own.
And we've done a lot of.
Go ahead, Rashid. Sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just going to add, we've done a lot of research in terms of like making this mobile first, easy to access, like a Squarespace for the metaverse, being able to plug in a workshop or an event or a concert or host games within there, like a poker tournament. So the idea is there'll be almost like an app store of things that you can integrate into your property. So like even this conversation we're having now, like down the line, we'd be doing that in your property, and we'd see your Spotify playlist, and we'd understand past events you've had. So it's this idea of that next level of social media almost and communication is where we're trying to take it.
So I could have a whole newsroom in my property and people could come and watch live news, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That is pretty awesome. And Rashid, can people build on the platform? So can developers come in and build games on top of the platform?
That's exactly the model we're looking to take. So it's like almost like a Roblox, the idea that then we allow that to open up to developers to create mini tools, games, applications that can integrate into those properties. And then it really becomes pretty endless in terms of how functional it can be within that property. And that's why 2.5D we feel is important, because it allows you to have a little bit more flexibility. We can always go very 3D. We can add that functionality, but 2.5 even sits quite well with things like Apple Vision Pro and where they're going. And we just felt it makes a little bit more sense for seamlessness from a product standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as you were talking, I'm thinking Metaverse is a $66 billion market, and it's defining this next iteration of the internet, which is what Rania said earlier, and converging both physical and the digital world. And it is said to be a $83 billion this year industry. Nevertheless, so many, and you alluded to this earlier, Rashid, so many of the metaverses that we love are still, you guys mentioned, difficult to access. They're glitchy, but they're also empty, right? So, and I want to hear from both of you on this. What is the value proposition for these startups, and how do you get people to onboard into these digital environments? And how are you guys differentiating yourself, especially in this down market?
Do you want me to go first, Rania, and then
You go first.
Yeah, but go ahead.
So for us, I think that we look at what people really care about, which is content, experiences, cool products, engaging with interesting creators and brands. That's like the heart of most successful businesses, consumer-facing businesses. So that's our priority. And then the technology we build needs to just simply facilitate that, essentially. So I think that's a really important piece for us. It's even when you see the city, it was content first, it was art first, it was storytelling first, not functionality. But then we learned from the community, okay, this is what they want, this is what they want to do in their property, this is what makes sense. And it becomes an iterative process. I think the current metaverses came in that bull run, and they raised hundreds of millions and have made it harder for people like us coming in the second phase now, because so many people don't want to invest in metaverse. But it's all good, because it's always in the second wave where I think the proper, that you get that potential innovation. You learn from the first phase, you understand them, and then you iterate on that.
Yeah, and I think for us too, we're really big on partnerships. Again, like a city, what makes a city is the people within the city. So really from day one, bringing in founding citizens, bringing in a really wonderful community to contribute, and then allowing those founding citizens and partners to also share in the rewards. So the idea is, as we grow with Persona Parlor and there's revenue, people are also making money. So they're incentivized to come into Metropolis World, because they too can make their own fashion line and sell their own things and have an income. So I think that self-sufficiency and bringing in interesting people to bring it to life.
Well, it is, you do have to build a compelling IP first, right? It's usually people have to love your IP and want to virally share that because of the experience. And what's really unique about what you guys are doing is that you really want the user to not know what's happening in the background. So you don't want people to even care about what is Web3 in the background, or how is this digital asset that I'm owning really works. People just want to come. They love collectibles. They see a shirt on their avatar and they want to own that, right? And you guys really make it about things like collectibles and these experiences and storytelling and being creative and having those relationships with creators. Which that's what people are attracted to, I feel like, and that's what they're going to come to more and more, right?
Definitely. And even when we break it down to on the rawest form, I mean, when we look at the art market and people, their emotional connection to art, and they go to galleries and you look at amazing, artworks and the story behind it, that's in a massive, massive industry that, at the rawest level with Metropolis, we have that. We have this intricate city that, imagine it as a giant artwork. You could spend hours looking at it, exploring it. Something we plan to do, by the way, bring it into the physical, as
Of
Rania is
course.
an expert at that. So even something like that is extremely important to us, like just the visual entity of it.
Yeah, of course. I'm Forbes. I just want to bring this up because I was reading this article about a couple of weeks ago. Forbes just came out with an article and said in 1998, I think it was 1998, yeah, Google came out with the concept of search. And a lot of businesses thought, why do I need a website? There was yellow pages, if you recall those. And next thing you know, the idea of a website became a necessity. So this article said that by 2030, every business alongside their a static website, they're going to have a digital representation of their entity. Do you see a future where some of these properties that you have, I'm just going to be really, I'm just going to shoot it high here, be like a doctor's office where you can come in and it's a digital office where you can have a consultation perhaps virtually. Do you see that happening?
I think it's already happening. I can never get my doctor. I always have to get on a Zoom with a doctor. But if I could do it in a beautiful virtual city, it makes it more compelling. But yes, absolutely.
And
The,
even
yeah.
even on AI, because AI is always everyone's moving to AI and it's all AI basically. But for that, I mean, on a very high level, we're exploring the way that AI almost represents your business and represents you versus being an assistant towards you. So again, let's say I came to your property, and you're not available at that time, but if I could speak to your digital representative and understand your background and what got you into journalism and your roots and your interests and what episodes are available, and that's all there through the AI. That's an interesting idea on the representation standpoint for a brand or a creator, and we're exploring that quite a bit now. We're a small team, but it's on our list. It's on our never-ending list.
So if people are looking at these properties and saying, well, why do I need a property? This is exactly the reason though, right? Because if everyone by 2030 needs to have a representation of what they do, the services that they offer, then they're going to need real estate, correct? They're going to need a digital real estate to offer those services. And so there's going to be these environments where they're allowing that to happen, like yourselves, correct?
Completely, and completely it. And that's why we see it almost like right now it was websites and it became social media. It's about my Instagram account, my business account, my Twitter account, and there's this
Can't
countless
keep up.
all of that. So imagine
Yeah.
then it's like, well, come to my property and all these integrations are there, like booking integrations, Zoom integrations, like all these different elements can be plugged in, games, ways to engage your audience.
Mhm.
That's definitely the larger vision that we see, but in a beautiful world where there's still that feeling of this is like a real city. It has character and soul to it.
Right. And you're going to start seeing these in-game, well, we call them in-game economies, but in internal economies where creators can indeed earn, correct?
Absolutely. That's the key
Yeah.
for us. It becomes a full creator economy where you're earning in many different ways
Mm.
through the environment.
And which we were doing already with Persona Parlor. I mean, we're launching very soon in September, and already our community will be sharing in revenue, and all the creators on board have revenue share. So it's really big believers of that.
Yeah, and we can go down rabbit holes with that topic as well. But Rashid, tell me real quick, since AI is a buzzword and a hot topic right now, what AI initiatives are you guys thinking about?
So the one I mentioned is something that we have an idea around, which is more of it's like your digital representative. So the AI
Mhm.
is something that you train to represent your values and your business and your interests as much or as little as you'd like. And then Rani's looking at it with the creative team from the standpoint of the creation of fashion lines, the creation of the interior of your properties, and so on. So I know Rani, you've been going into that a little bit with the team.
We've been doing that, yeah. And then also the property hubs. So the idea is, using AI to create the weather you want, or, the color of your room, or the shape of the room, or the style, the decor, the interior design of your hub.
And there's no rules
Very
in
cool.
Celeste. So you could have a tiny property that is a tiny little hut, but then you go in and it's it's an infinite room. That's the way. Like we're gonna mess with the laws of reality with what you can do in those properties. So.
It's endless, right? It is endless. I read an article that I can't remember exactly the projects, but I want to say it was Sandbox and Upland, and they're working on an initiative where the interoperability becomes endless for avatars. So us human as our avatars can also enter into different metaverses as our being. And it was a little freaky. That's very dystopian. We're starting with this now that we have AI. I mean, this future of interoperability, not just with digital assets, but they were talking about ourselves, our human digital representation of us walking through different digital environments. And someone said, "Well, what digital environments? They're all empty, anyways. There's nothing to do." And frankly, people need to realize that we're so early, guys, and this is not really for everyone. Not everyone is an early adopter, and you have to start somewhere, right? And it's really hard to be that one brand or two or three that are leading this technology, because we're seeing a shift happen right before our eyes. This next iteration of internet is happening, and it is all about digital environments. I want to hear from both of you on this concept. How do you see this unfold?
It's something we talk about a lot because on one hand it's very um, it can be very daunting doing something completely new and still ahead of the time, where you're having to really explain. It's hard enough running any kind of business that people already understand, let alone one where there's this learning curve. So it can be daunting, but then at the same time it's exhilarating because there's less bound. You're not in a box. It's almost we're paving the way forward for something that's extremely new and innovative. And it is, it's as you mentioned really well. I agree. Like it's gonna happen in some way or form. Like it's very clear this is the path people are taking. So um, we're always having that debate. I think,
And
Grant.
Yeah, and I think for us too, we don't feel like you have to be so literal. Like it doesn't have to be a literal version of yourself. I think, what we're excited about, and you can see it with the cities, it's fantastical, it's stylized. You don't have to look like how you look now to enter a digital environment. And those digital environments should defy our understanding of environments in the real world. Why shouldn't they? I mean, they should, that's the whole point, right? Is you can do anything,
Yeah.
virtually. So I think for us, I feel sometimes, even like with Meta, it's like making the avatars look just like you. Like it's like, why do that? Explode the boundaries of visual representation and environment. So that's something we're big on too.
Which is so exciting, very inspiring. As we start to close here and time goes by so quickly, I want to bring up your tagline. And I want to ask you a question that I ask every builder who comes on my show. Your tagline is "Join the Evolution." So I want to ask you both. We know what you're building, and a lot of time in our space, builders talk about what they're building, but they rarely talk about why they're building what they're building. So I want to raise this question for you. Why are you building the Metropolis world, and how do you envision this evolution improve our world, say 10 years from now? You both have to answer this question.
Rashid.
Go
we go
ahead.
first?
Just why not?
There you go.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I
here,
think
that's fine. Go ahead.
so for me, it really, I think it's about create. Me and Rania are both creative people. I'm on music, she's on film, but we're hyper creative. We've always wanted to be in the creative field, extremely competitive, hard to make money. We have these limitless imaginations. And I think that is really at the heart of this project. It's creating an environment that's physical, digital, it's everywhere. That's just how you engage with it. But it's creating an ecosystem and environment that allows you that creativity, allows you access to that creativity, whether you're consuming it, you're getting involved with it. I think that is what drives us. And I think particularly Rania, I have to say, who's just so, leading this, is the chief creative officer and is leading that piece. I think that's at the heart of this, and that's what excites us. And to see people get involved with it is what really drives. To see people taking it on, imagining it in their own right, creating their Twitter handles for their properties, creating their lore, feedbacking on what kind of products they want. That's what I think is where it's going. And just in terms of the 10 years, in terms of the impact piece, for me, that's the charity side. It's the fact that the younger generation right now don't really find it cool to donate to charities, nor do they have an easy way. If I can donate by purchasing digital assets that I can use in Roblox and on Instagram and represent like causes that matter to me, that could unlock an entire new generation for charity. So that to me is just a cherry on top. It could be very interesting in terms of how we engage. And I know we've actually brought on some charities already to do that, which is really great.
Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that up. I didn't bring up the charity aspect of your project, which is really neat as well. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rashid said it really well. I mean, just to add to that, I think we're so passionate about creating something that's beautiful, elevated, that can really inspire people. And I think the beauty of blockchains and NFTs is that, and we forget about it, is that it really can empower creators and people that for so long artists have struggled, whether you're a filmmaker, a digital designer. And I think if we can give people the platform to join in creating something so sublime and elevated, then that for us is a big thing. So
and giving them a home away from home almost. It's like if we want Metropolis World to feel like, because we feel like that, there's a feeling which everyone really mentions, there's a feeling to the city, and we want that to be there. We want people to feel like this is my home in other than my real home.
And a community. I mean, it's really interesting. We've met so many incredible people from all around the world. A lot of them actually work with us now on the team, and they've all been brought because of this one city, the art, the storytelling. So if we can really scale that, I think it could be amazing.
And people have no idea what kind of undertaking that is. It is a lot of work to give people that home. So I hope that, and especially with a small team that you guys have, you have accomplished so much thus far, and it's incredible. So well done, guys. Well done to you and your team. And that's why I really wanted to bring you guys and introduce the project and have people, this is what I do. I facilitate information between people like yourselves, founders, in this next iteration of internet and the mainstream audience, so that we can make the language more understanding and understandable, and for people to really understand and see where the value is. I mean, you really have to put your glasses on and have a bigger view and vision of what is being built and see outside of the box and be a part of it. And how exciting is it for founders to come forward and be on these platforms? We never had Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos come on stage when they were building their platforms to tell everyone what they're building and why they're building it. So my hat is really off to you guys. And it's very obvious that you both are incredible visionaries, and it really was a pleasure to have you both sharing your insight and story with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us. Thank you. We really appreciate it. It's such a pleasure to speak with you.
And I hope you guys know you can come back anytime as the project progresses. I know people want to learn more of what you guys are up to and how they can get involved. There is one question, is a little bit on the technical side, but I want to bring it on just because I don't want to leave without answering any question. And maybe Rashid, this is yours. Will 3D assets from other ecosystems be used to customize the interior of properties? For example, if I know people that are building 3D assets in Unreal Engine, Fortnite, can I use their items? That is so technical, and it's all you, Rashid, but go ahead and
Even though I'm not funny enough,
answer that.
technical, but sometimes that's the goal. The goal is to try and plug in as many different to allow as many assets to come into the world. So we want to be as compatible as possible. I mean, Fortnite's a bit unique because it's quite a closed environment, but we are actually trying to actively push for that partnership because we just feel there's a good synergy, particularly of Fortnite. But the idea is that we want to have that ability to drag and drop from different environments. Absolutely.
Soon, guys. Soon, guys. Patience. Rania, where can people learn more about the project and start their journey? Website, Discord?
I think website personaparlor.com, great place to start to sign up. I think our Discord is also a great destination. We have amazing mods, fantastic community. But I would say go to personaparlor.com, and we're launching in a few weeks. So if you've signed up, you'll get information about what's happening, all the latest and greatest.
Amazing. So I wasn't late to the party, really.
Yeah.
I was just in time. Who said I was late, Kurosh? I wasn't late. Rashid, anything else you want to add before we close?
Yeah, that's all great. I mean, it's been really great, and very excited for the next few weeks. Will be a very big time. A lot's happening. We have a lot planned, so hopefully we're going to come out strong in September and show people the evolution of the Metropolis World platform.
Well, we're definitely excited and can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us. All right, guys, that is all the time we have for today. I really hope everyone enjoyed this conversation as much as I did and learned as much as I did. We'll be back again next week with more conversations in technology. Until then, I'm your host, Matamona, and stay positive.